Louisiana's finest. I say, who that? R.I.P. Tom Benson. Shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Oh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach ya. Make enemies some believers, cause we overachievers. DBs see 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all can follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Saints Talk listeners, what's up? We back. It's another week of Saints Talk. I'm your host, Kevin Washington, here with my man, Nick Underhill. Nick, what's up?
So right off the jump, I'm going to apologize. I got a little cough and throat thing going on. So if my voice gets a little bit weirder or I make some ungodly noises during the podcast, that's why. But glad to be back, man. Getting a little bit closer to camp, get that countdown going. This is our last podcast of June. Next time we come back, it will be the same month as training camp. So that'll be good next week, man. A couple of days away from being in the month that football begins. Yeah,
man. Are we still on, like, we still got a pie break coming, or do we? How we doing this?
Yeah, we do. We got this one, next one, and then we're off for 2 weeks. So we got that going on. On the website, check out the website just over the next month. We're writing some guides about just how to fundamentally watch Saints football, breaking down coverages. Got a story coming tomorrow about the different run types they use. So you want to know the nuances between inside zone, outside zone, power, gap blocking, all that stuff. We're going to be explaining all that. And then just, going forward, just kind of going through some of the basics. You ever have questions about the terminology, the jargon, some of the stuff that people say? It's just kind of breaking that down so that you have a list of resources that you can go through and just say, oh, okay, this is what that means. This is what that means. And learn a little bit about the game. So if you're interested in that stuff at all, just trying to become a little bit more knowledgeable about the games you're watching, that's a journey we're trying to take you on. And really that's the key behind the site in general. I'd say that's kind of the mission statement for the whole thing.
Yeah. I'll be real. I mean, you can watch a lot of football and, I watch enough, right? I'm not like the football concierge or the genius or the expert or anything like that. But, every once in a while, you got to go back and look at those references to see, what certain people do in coverages. And, coverages in the NFL, the fundamentals, for the most part are the same, but they evolve and people do different things out of different coverages. So it's good to have that reference that you can always go back to. I got me a couple of new bookmarks. I don't have to use my phone notes app anymore. I can just go to the website and try to remember what the underneath, flat defenders are doing in cover 3 sometimes if I'm having a brain hiccup. So you guys make sure you check that out. It's that's my favorite type of football content. I love the deep X's and O's, nuance, stuff like that. So Nick has always been writing that type of stuff. And, this is just another example of it. So check that out. All right. So last time we were here, you guys heard from us. We were ranking the Saints 2021 NFL roster, and this is a projection for the 2021 season. So just a reminder that this is not based on last year. Those are the terms that we came to for making this list. So let's get into it. Do we want to
hold up? Yeah, before you do that, share the guys that you already had, and then I'll share mine.
Bring everybody up to speed. All right, so. All right, here we go. 25, Patrick Robinson. 24, Marquez Callaway. 23, Andrews Pete. 21, Carl Granderson. 22, Carl Granderson. 21, Peyton Turner, struggling today. 20, Latavius Murray. 19, Adam Troutman. 18, Traquan Smith. 17, Cesar Ruiz. And now we're going to start at 16. Give me yours.
Hey, shout out to Nassim Howard signing up for the site. I don't know if you're watching the show right now, but if you are, thanks for that.
Appreciate it.
All right, going through the list, Patrick Robinson at 25, 24, Peyton Turner, 23, Pete Werner, 22, Cesar Ruiz, 21, Andrews Pete, 20, Marquez Callaway, 19, Latavius Murray, 18, Adam Troutman. 17, Taysom Hill.
All right, there we go. So that's the list.
Do you have
That's
any
what we-
regrets about any of the placement in your top 8 since
Oh man,
the
that's
last 8?
good question. That's a good question. That's a good question. Well, I'll say this. Usually when I have a really bad take, I find out pretty soon after the pod. Every Wednesday morning, like it's like, like, what were you thinking? So I didn't get any of those. So I feel a little good about that. It did feel weird putting, someone like I like Carl Granderson over Pete. I thought that was like a little bit of a wild take in some ways. I'm pretty sure no one on the coaching staff would say that. I don't know. That was when I kind of looked back and I could see myself switching that one. Peyton Turner over, some of the guys who have already shown what they can do on the field. That was one that I thought about. I think that I would maybe put Adam Troutman over Traquan if I had to do it again, and maybe even over Ruiz. But I got to see it. He only had like 151 yards. So those are the ones that kind of stood out to me. But yeah, that Carl Granderson over Pete that was the one that was like, okay, he trying to like get some followers or something. So Carl Granderson Hive, like I just gave y'all all of like if I need some followers, I'm gonna just put Jameis number 1, and I got the whole Winston Hive on my back, and then we good.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna get on you about that, just generally, because I think the view of Pete outside of the building is much lower than the view inside the building. So leaving him off the list probably would make you you're speaking to the fan base with that one for sure.
Right.
I don't really feel like I have any regrets. I think my regrets will come in hindsight down the road, just maybe with some of the placement of some of these guys, where the rookies are, and some of those projections. But as far as like the established players that we've seen, putting them in order, I think I'm okay with how I have them. But
okay,
I mean that like you said, Peyton Turner could be regretful. Pete Werner could be regretful.
Right.
Having Troutman at 18, I know you said you wanted Meyer. I mean, that could end up being a regret if he doesn't come on, as a receiver. Yeah. But generally, I believe the things I said last week still this week, so I'm okay with where I have these guys right now. But
okay,
yeah, I mean, nothing that I felt crazy about after the fact. I think when we get up a little bit higher, that might be where some of the stuff gets a little bit harder.
So the toughest part of the list for you was doing this the maybe what was it, like top 10? Was that kind of where it got like a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely top 10. I shared my list with a couple people before I put it out. Yeah, there was definitely some arguments about where people were ranked, but I mean, look, like we said last time, it's not lifetime achievement. So as we get up into that, and we won't even get there today, but as we get up into that, I mean, I think that's probably where some of the disagreements will come into play.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, one more thing before we get started. To the people that's watching live, my head looks a little shinier, or you can see the pimples coming out of my pores. Got me a new little camera thing. Someone told me I was looking at, I was like a VCR tape and someone else was a Blu-ray DVD. So
someone said that to you?
No, I was just kind of like lying on you, but
I was definitely harsh. I didn't use that analogy, but yeah, no, I told you that I was disgusted with you for having a $17 webcam, and so I bought you a new one. Yeah,
it's 30, bro. It's 30.
30. So. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I mean, so I was trying to like let you off the hook with the DVD. Disgusted is like way like less friendly.
I'm saying like our podcast is kind of like, you're in the league and you're showing up in like some like McGregor cleats. You know what I'm saying? Like you got like go get some Nike cleats. You got to be right. Like Peyton would have been all over you about like not having the right footwear on. That was basically. You had the poor footwear version of webcams.
I was still all pro though, bro. Like,
Nah, I don't think you were. You were slipping. You fell down a couple times. You could have been. Like, we'll get there. Now that the equipment's right, we'll get there.
What was that game where Mike Bell was slipping and falling and Sean was like killing him about the cleats? Was that like the Super Bowl or something? I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm drawing a blank.
There is nothing worse to that man than having on the wrong cleats,
bruh.
Like you could play or but if you slip. If you slip and you fall and you give up play, he will not forgive you for that.
It's over, boo. It's so funny, man. And I like that's my first that's the first time I remember him seeing like totally snap on someone about the cleats. And yeah, like I make sure I got the right shoes on during the game, man. Look, I don't need none of them problems.
Like the first timers showing up on like the Zooms for first time beat writers, and there's some new people like. If you start asking Sean about footwear, like that is the fastest way into into his good graces.
Oh, so, he gonna holler at you.
Yeah,
I mean, he got married with some Jumpman's on. Like,
yeah.
Like he's serious about it, and look, man, that man takes it serious, no question. All right, let's get into this list. So my number 16. Oh man, so I'll be honest. If a year ago, if you told me this guy would have been here, I would have been like, this is a disaster. And maybe that still is the case, but my number 16, I put Marcus Davenport. The guys above him, I just really couldn't justify putting him any higher. I think that, the guys below him, you can understand it, like the Cesar Ruizes, the Troutmans of the world. I still think he played better than all those guys, the Petes, the Grandersons, PJ Williams, and Patrick Robinson, those guys. But when you get into guys who were starters, it's kind of hard to put him above some of those other guys, and this is based on going forward, but you have to use like what you know about the player, which was in the past. So yeah, he hasn't lived up to his draft standard yet, and I think that's a fair place to put him. So my number 16 is Marcus Davenport.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I got him a little bit higher on my list, and the reason for that is that I'm ranking a couple guys off of potential, and I still think that his potential is sky high, and I think it's a lot higher than some of the other people. So
yeah,
if I got Troutman at 18 on potential, I had to put Davenport a little bit higher. I'll tell you the number when we get there, but you wish he was higher though. It still feels disappointing, and even having him at this point, he could end up lower. So it is based on some optimism at this point that he's going to do a little bit better than he did last year. Now, like if you're ranking a guy off of 1.5 sacks and you're taking potential out of it, he ain't on the list.
Yeah, not at
Carl
all.
Granderson's on the list. He ain't on the list.
That's true.
Yeah. So
very true.
We don't got to belabor the point. I mean, our feelings on him and where he's at and the crossroads and everything it's out there. I mean, we've said it a million times, so I'm not going to get into all those points again. But yeah, I think he could definitely be a little bit better. My 16, I put Traquan Smith here, and I think that he's, like I've said 100,000 times now. I'm the president of the TQSFC, Traquan Smith fan club. And it's just all the stuff that we see him putting in the work with Jameis. And look, honestly, I think that he has to have a good season for Jameis to have a good season if Jameis is the starter. I think they're kind of linked a little bit in that, the work that they've put in. And, I think either way, the work that Traquan Smith's putting in is going to make him better this year, whether it's Jameis as a starter or Taysom as a starter. And I think it's necessary. And I think that we see a player recognizing that he needs to be better for this team and also for himself, for his career. If he's going the way he's going, that second contract isn't going to, come with many years or too many dollars. So he needs to, I think he's very much like Davenport. He needs to play a lot better and, step it up and, come into his own. And in a lot of ways, again, I think the team's success rides on him finding that next level. He doesn't need to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but, get to 750. They need that. And that's what he's going to be called upon. Where did you have him on your list? I think he was at 6 or two spots lower. 18.
18. I had him at 18.
So we're relatively in the same range on him.
Yeah, I mean, 2 slots off. Yeah, I thought he was going to be in your top 10. I'll be real with you.
Come on, man.
Had him all above like Marshawn and everybody, man. No, I think he's one of the most. He's part of a group who's like one of the most crucial. Like it's a handful of guys. Like I would say Callaway, Troutman, and Traquan. Like out of those 3 guys, someone has to step up.
I think 2 of them do.
There you go, even further, right? I understand one because you got Mike and Alvin. So if you got 3 good offensive weapons, I think that's enough. But yeah, if you want to be dynamic and you got a new quarterback and someone who's learning the system, you want to give guys more weapons. I totally understand it. So Traquan is one of those guys. We just, got to fix the undershirt situation. But other than that, man, I'm ready. I think I've never seen him like be so active in the offseason. Like he's everywhere working, right? And he's just all Jameis's videos or whatnot. But yeah, I think that's a fair place for Traquan. Yeah. All right. My number 15. I kind of wanted to put him higher, but him and the next guy, I moved these 2 guys like above and below each other, back and forth a few times. And Deonte ended up falling here at 15, Deonte Harris. So, I know we're not doing special teams, but it's hard to like look at his contributions just in special teams and punt return, kick return, and then what he can do as an offensive weapon, someone who can move around. I think you're going to see, maybe more of that from him this year. I think, he's fast, right? And I think that maybe potentially would unlock a part of his game that, being honest, we haven't seen that from him. We haven't had the opportunity. Same thing for Callaway, same thing for maybe Troutman. It's only been 1 year, and definitely for Traquan. So yeah, he's one of those guys who I think needs to. And when I just said Traquan, Marquez, and Troutman, I think you could put him in that group too. And I kind of like overlooked him a little bit, but yeah, he's one of those guys I could see. And I don't think he's going to be a volume guy. I think he's going to be someone who, he's going to make big plays, and he's going to get the attention of the defense, and he'll probably do more for this team, like off the stat sheet than maybe what he does for on the stat sheet, and that stuff matters. So yeah, 15, Deonte Harris for me.
I got him in the same spot. Look,
Okay.
I'm excited to see what he can do this year with the bigger arm quarterback. I don't think we really know what he can do as a receiver. And look, they just put out the videos. Shout out to Real Super Nola. Keep keeping the Jameis videos out there.
Yeah.
One of them was like a little mini cut up of Deonte Harris running different routes. Jameis hit him on a 73-yard bomb.
Man.
Ball went 73 yards through the air.
In the air, though.
In the air.
A little short, but it was 73 yards, though.
Yeah, he threw the ball 73 yards. So if he would have thrown it a second sooner and he threw it 70 yards, it would have been on target. At 73, he kind of had to stop, turn, and catch it. I can forgive a 73-yard pass for being 2 yards underthrown. So I'm okay with that. And then, look, they hit on a 20-yard out route. Again, routes on air, but just even having a quarterback that can get the ball there through the air. Last 4 years, Breeze is a starting QB. He only hit on 4 of those. Jameis's last 4 years as starting QB, he hit on 6. I think you can look at some differences, though. Tampa's offensive line wasn't great. You got to hold the ball for a while to hit that pass. Yeah. They didn't have the option of play action, really, because they were playing from behind on a lot of games. So good offensive line, play action. I think you can hit that 20-yard out route a little bit more often in this offense. Deonte's a guy that they can get on that. And, I think he could have a Joe Morgan-esque season where he's kind of like a special weapon, goes in there, hits some deep passes. But I think he's a little bit more dynamic than Joe, and that he can do some of the stuff up the sideline. And you got to protect him. Like, you aren't sending him over the middle on a lot of stuff where he can take these hits. But these outbreaking routes in that are a little bit more down the field, I think that they could, become a feature of this offense.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's kind of one of those guys. And, I kind of, he's a shorter receiver, and, he was making fun of me saying I wanted like a shorter receiver because I was a fan of Elijah Moore and, a couple of the guys that was in the draft this year.
Oh, man. You love that little dude. You were all in on that little dude, man.
Man, look, man, he squats like 600 pounds, man.
Yo, you were all in on the little dudes. We were looking at the Deonte video, and like you're like, oh, you had to leave his feet. I'm like, dude, he's 5'6". Like you had to jump up like a half an inch. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Put that between the numbers, man.
James he needs to recalibrate like where he's throwing it. But yeah, I mean,
exactly. It's hard to go from like Mike Thomas, Marquez Callaway to Deonte Harris. Like, come on, man, you got it. That's an adjustment. So yeah, I mean,
see, that little receiver is perfect in Arizona. Murray is like great at the launch point.
Well, you got a little partner in crime out there to make it work. Oh, man. That's too much, man. So, but yeah, I think he's one of those guys where I think you can, he's someone you can get the ball to quickly, right? Quick drop, give him the ball, let him make a play because he's obviously dynamic with the ball in his hands. But he's also someone that can, he can stretch the field a little bit. So, if I'm Sean Payton, I'm trying to figure out how to use that guy.
They talked about for so long. He's wanted him to be like a Tyreek Hill type. And look, I mean that's a super high ceiling.
Yeah,
but you got to have a guy that can get him the ball down the field to even be able to reach any of that potential, and he does now. So
yeah,
with either guy, look, I mean Taysom's deep ball isn't nearly as good as Jameis's. Like I don't even think it's even really close.
No.
But he can get it there at least. He can at least get it there to some degree. So whichever guy's in there, he's going to be more utilized on the field than Breeze is the point that I'm getting to.
Yeah.
But obviously Jameis throwing that thing down the field much better for the prospects of unleashing the full version of Deonte Harris.
Yeah, just weird seeing the Saints quarterback with Saints jersey throw a ball that far.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight against Drew, obviously, but you know, we've spoken a lot about what the deep ball does for an offense. And you know,
he used to have
safety,
a good enough one. I mean, for sure. He used to have a good enough one. It's just over the last few years it deteriorated. Look, I think arm strength's like probably the most overrated thing that we talk about with quarterbacks, but you gotta have some of it.
I think it is like super overrated, like especially with draft guys. They talk about, you know, guys' arms and stuff like that, which I totally agree with. But when you just can't throw the ball effectively past 25 yards, then I do think it becomes I think that's where the real problem comes in. So
you just gotta have functional arm strength, and
exactly.
There's a point of where it's limited.
It's like your offense, like the safeties are showing you no respect. I remember, man, what game was it? Was it the Bucs game where Drew threw that bomb to Emmanuel Sanders and I panicked? It's like, what just happened? And it was a weird play because like it was like the ball got snapped quick and I think the camera didn't follow it that quick, and you know, next thing you know, the ball is in the air, and I'm like, okay, who's that quarterback? Like, did I not notice them that they subbed Taysom or Jameson, and it was Drew, and I was like, oh. Okay.
I think the Panthers are that was the 17 playoffs, right? The Panthers are premature with thinking.
No, that was Emmanuel Sanders. This was just
no. I'm talking about a different game. In the 17 playoffs, I think the Panthers are a little bit premature with declaring the demise of Breeze. Like they tried to pack it in, and like he was able to stretch him out. And it was maybe a year and a half too soon for that game plan. But I mean that was like the first time where it was just kind of like, oh, teams think they don't got to respect us anymore, and like there was a reason for it.
Yeah,
but he was able to find it at that point and make them pay for it.
Right. Yeah. No, and yeah, I think it was the KC game. They just said in chat it was a KC game. So yeah, that was
JC's right.
Yeah, JC called it. Yeah, that was just like I was like, okay, man, like let's see, you know, and then the next play, safety still playing down. It was like man, show me twice. So all right, let's go on. Let's move on to 14. My number 14 is Malcolm Jenkins, safety, current Saint, former Saint, and current Saint. So yeah, I think this is, just looking at the list, is a fair place to put him. I could make a case that I could have made to put him up one or two slots higher, and you know, now it becomes personal preference. But yeah, good player. I think, you know, one thing that was a little unexpected from him last year is that it takes some time for him to get used to the defense, right? And he's known as a super smart player, which he is, obviously. But you know, when a guy comes somewhere new, it's just everything's different, and they take time to get going. And you know, he spoke about that, and you can kind of see when the light start turning on for him. So I think, you know, I didn't see a deteriorating player or anything like that. He is a little bit older. I think he was drafted in 2009. That year. And so, yeah, I just, you know, I think he's still a good player. He's not a Pro Bowl, you know, all pro level player or anything like that at this point in his career, but he's still a good player. He has good players around him, and I think, you know, he'll be good, you know, this year in the defense. So yeah, I went with Malcolm Jenkins at 14.
I got him a little higher on my list. I will be interested to see if he maintains the level. I think that's very important. He did start out a little bit slow last year, and then once he figured out how to play cover 4, which is something he hadn't done,
right?
And they played like 250 some snaps of it last year. Once he figured that out, I think you saw him start to come together a little bit. His leadership skills, I think, are really important to that group back there.
Yeah,
he's someone that Marcus Williams, you know, goes to a lot for different information. So I think just having that veteran presence back there, and it is important. They're starting to have a veteran secondary, though, in general. Like all of a sudden, this young secondary really isn't a young secondary anymore. You're talking about guys in their 4th, 5th year. Yeah, like they're starting to become an older group. I mean, and you know, for a while it was like, oh, who's going to be the vet with these young guys? Marshawn, Marcus, they need that.
Right.
You know, that's changed a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I thought he was a really good pickup for them. And once he came into his own, I actually thought he was an upgrade over Von Bell. I really do. Yeah. I mean, maybe not in all aspects. I mean, there's maybe some aspects in the running game where I think Von excelled a little bit, but he definitely did what he was supposed to do after settling in.
Right. Yeah, it just took a little time.
My guy at 14, I got Davenport there.
Okay.
We hit on the reasons. I you know, just based on potential, some of the other guys, you know, you're doing projections, and I think my favorable projection at Davenport is even higher than this.
Oh, sorry. I had to troll you.
Nah, I mean, my favorable projection, though, I think going up, you could even go if you were looking at it like, he's going to hit it, like it'd be higher. I don't have the faith in him hitting the higher. I think this is probably the bar. Like Davenport comes out as a 6-7 sack season. I think 14 will be probably a good spot for him if he hits those numbers. And those feel achievable. We aren't even talking about 10 anymore. 6 or 7. Yeah.
He needs to be top 10. I mean, let's be real.
He does.
He should be top 10 just based on talent. I mean,
he should be top 5. He should be top 5. They put 2 first-round picks on him.
Yeah. And even forgetting about his draft, just talking on talent alone, like, it's no reason. Like, he's one of the most physically gifted guys for his position, right? When I'm looking, if you say some guys like, who are guys who are like physical freaks for their position, you think someone like Teron Armstead, you think Marshawn Lattimore, and maybe Jameis as a quarterback, depending on how you feel about running quarterbacks. But now then Davenport, right? He's in that range. So yeah, I definitely think, and you can say maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He has the the size and physicality to play the position that he plays. But I just think he should be better, man. He should be better. He needs to be higher on this list. He needs to, read whatever book or whatever motivational tactic that he's using. It needs to work for him this year because it's important. All right, let's move on. My number 13. Oh gosh, this is where I put Taysom Hill. So I didn't really know where to put Taysom, or like what to put him, like what position to put him on this list. Is Taysom Hill a quarterback? Is he a halfback? Is he a tight end? Is he a slot receiver? Is he a gunner? What is he? Right? Is he punt block? I don't know. Right? Like, we don't know what the season holds for him, but I think part of it is, I'll be real. When you think about Sean Payton's comments this offseason and how high he spoke of him, it just lets me know that he's someone that's probably, gonna have a role in this offense regardless of what happens, whether he's a starting quarterback or not. And I for that reason alone, like he's at number 13 in my list. Like, he's gonna be a part of whatever Sean Payton does. He loves the guy. He talks about him like he's an all-pro. He spoke about him like he's an all-pro years before he even started or took a snap at quarterback. So, yeah, long story short, Taysom Hill, my number 13.
It's not a bad spot for him. I had him at 17. That's fine. I got Jameis at 13.
Okay.
And look, yeah, I mean, if Jameis does everything he's supposed to do, he's higher on those on this list. I think right now, putting him at 13, the guys that I have ahead of him have shown more. I mean, they started for the team last year. It just is what it is with the ranking, and I'm expecting good things from him. I don't know if we've just watched so much of him, talked so much about him, seen these videos. I don't know if it's at the point of where you're becoming delusional in the off season, but I'm really at the point now that I believe that he's going to be good, and we'll see how it comes together. 100% projection. They need him to be good, but I think even the version of him that ends up at 13, that's good enough to get into the playoffs. And I think he's going to be good enough to get that done. I think he has the infrastructure on him, all that stuff. You just got to come in and not mess it up. And
yeah,
I mean, really, Teddy Bridgewater came in, didn't mess it up, wins all his starts. Taysom comes in.
Yeah, there you go.
Doesn't mess it up, wins. He does really well as a starter, just record-wise. Just come in and don't mess it up. Don't throw those interceptions. And that might be easier said than done. I think it's a little unfair to look at Jameis through the specter of the 30 interception season. I think that's probably an extreme outlier for him.
Okay. So
the version of him that's maybe not pressing to go down the field, if you bring it back to that and say, okay, make some better decisions from 17 interceptions. It's not as tall of a task.
Yeah.
And I think he can do it. And I think he will. So 13 is where he's at. Hopefully for the Saints, that is the floor. And he's up from there. And if that's the case, I mean, you got a starter. And they stole 2 back-to-back. Stole Breeze, and then you still Winston. I mean, if you can do that and keep your championship window open for 25 years running,
crazy.
I mean, that'd really be something. I mean, and there's a long way to go for just having Jameis to put you to the point where your championship window's open. But if he's a solid starter with this team, championship window's open at least for, as long as Alvin, Mike, Ramczyk, some of the guys in the secondary, as long as this course here, that window stays open. And
absolutely.
If he can do that for you, man, that would be like an extremely good situation for this team to just steal that guy, just simply because he wanted to come here and learn. If you can get him and keep him in the building, I mean, that's an amazing outcome.
Yeah. And just Jameis is my number 12. I put him and Taysom right next to each other. Just putting it out there. Please don't kill me for it, guys. But yeah,
you put them together. You say, you played it safe.
I played it safe. I didn't want no problems. Jameis got his high. The Taysom Hill narrative is out there now, and it's just like, let's just play this thing down the middle and see what happens. So yeah, I'm with you on Jameis. I'm buying Jameis stock. I just like he's just I don't like the dude. I don't know if he's like I don't know. I need to go back and look and see like if he talked this well when he was in Tampa. Like it's just easy to believe what he's saying, right? And it's easy to like on one hand, it's easy to laugh at him and not take him seriously, right? And that's fair. And all joking, but he's a little bit of a different type guy, different personality. But yeah, he's just saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things. I mean, he's working. He's like every day. It seems like the guy's just working on his craft. So, maybe it's like when you see it, it makes you like a little bit more invested. So, yeah, it's just I believe it. I believe it. And I'm like on the side of I think James is going to be a good quarterback more so than I think maybe the alternative. Now I'm not saying how good that's going to be, but I think he'll be fine.
I don't know if I said this here or in a different interview. But the year they were on Hard Knocks before the Eating the W thing came out,
yeah,
like people in the Saints locker room, like players, they watch that stuff, and you kind of BS about different sports and stuff, between interviews and that. And Jameis's name was coming up a lot in the locker room, and people on this team back then were impressed with his leadership skills. Like I had those conversations about you to see he's a natural leader and all this stuff. So I think that he's always spoken the way that we're seeing him speak, and some of those qualities have shown throughout his career. So I don't think that that's a new discovery this year that I'm going to, step into this. Maybe it's gotten more polished and things of that nature, but I think naturally that's kind of who he's been and how players have seen him. So look, I mean, I'm excited to see it, man. I can't wait for camp to come. Like seeing what this guy looks like is mystery number one to me. I don't think what we saw him last year in the San Francisco game is representative of anything. I mean, look, he didn't throw the ball really during the season. You're learning your third string quarterback. Your reps in practice don't really come. So it might have been, outside of going into that week, he wouldn't even have been. Drew was on the field, so it might have been a while since he was on the field throwing the ball to people. So
right,
all that stuff.
Yeah,
we're gonna see. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
where we at?
We're 12, man.
We're on 12.
My number 12. Need a W. Keep it moving. Give me a number 12.
Don't do it for real.
I'm not going to eat the W.
I got Malcolm Jenkins here, and
okay,
yeah, I don't need to go over it again. I mean, I just think it's a good spot. Looking at the people above him, I just felt like it was a real natural spot to put him in.
All right, you want to do your 10? You want me to get mine?
How high are we going?
Oh, I thought we was.
Yeah, hold on. 1, 2.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's
so
right.
we're going to 9. We're going through 9.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then we'll do the top 8 on the other one. Okay, you go ahead, man.
Okay, yeah, my bad. All right, so my number 10 is
no, you're on 11.
My number 11. My bad. I put Chauncey Gardner-Johnson here. I'll be honest. I had him probably 3 slots higher. I think I had him at number 8 or something like that. I don't know why I moved him. I think I moved him because of maybe what I thought I would get out of the players above him. And I don't want to make it seem like it's anything against him. I think he's obviously a good player, and he does a lot for this defense. But yeah, he came at my number 11. I don't know what this. Now we're getting into the part of the list where guys are starters, and you got guys who their performances are similar, and now you got to kind of try to separate these guys out. And part of my regret with having him here at 11 is thinking like, okay, he's a young player. He's going into year 3. Is it? I think it's year 3. So he's got a lot of meat left on the bone. I mean, he's still an ascending player. He got better from, he came in year 1, had an instant impact. Year 2, made a jump. Year 3, I'm predicting that he's probably going to make another jump. So I feel a little guilty putting him at 11, but after just thinking about it and kind of digesting this list a little bit, that's kind of where I landed. So my number 11, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But man, I think he's a good young player.
I got him in the same spot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like it was, the guys above him. I mean, it's a star-studded cast ahead of him, so it's not having anybody at 11, 12, 13. That's not a knock on anybody. That's
true.
It's a tough list to crack. And look, I think he's going to keep getting better. I think his understanding of the game has gotten better. Yeah, I think just everything he does on the field, it's a little bit more polished and more refined. And I think that process is going to continue coming into year 3. I expect him next year when we do this to be easy top 10. But right now, I just feel like the guys ahead of him, it's just, they're just a little bit deeper into it in some cases, most cases. So, I think he's extremely important to the defense, the way he plays, the presence he brings. I think all this stuff is really important.
Yeah.
And there's intangibles there that just they're extremely valuable. So
yeah, you need a guy like him on your team, right? Like you just need someone like him, tone setter type guy, right?
You do. Good player, arrows pointing up. I expect him to be higher next year when we do this.
Yeah. Okay. My number 10, man, this feels, and this is another guy who, I mean, I think it's justified, but he should be higher on this list. It's no way this guy should be number 10. But I have him at 10. It's why I came in with Marshawn. You're muted. Yeah, this is where I came in with Marshawn.
I said, ooh.
Yeah. That's a hot take. That's a hot take right there. Marshawn is better. He's better than the 10th player on the Saints. No question. I do think that. Now, listen, he created the narrative himself about not being all the way locked in because he said it, right? And to me, that's the end of the story. He said it, even though it's true. But I do think it's like not as blown off. I mean, I think it's not. We take it farther than what it really is, right? Because you're a cornerback in this league, you're going to get beat, right? That's just what it is. And so when I look at Marshawn Lattimore, there's not a lot of corners who play. I mean, he's better than most corners in this league, regardless of how you feel about him, right? You got the Bucks. We can talk about their receiving core. The Panthers have a good receiving core. The Falcons, Julio and so you're in the NFC South. You're playing tough guys. They played the Chiefs this year. You can go down the list of teams. So he always gets a hard assignment. He's got to go against the best receiver on the other team. I just think that he's a good player as he is right now. Like as he is, I think he's a good player. I just don't know if he'll ever become like a consistently great player. I don't know, right? I don't know. It's there. We've seen it. It's shown itself at times. If everyone put on a number 13 jersey, I think Mike Evans is number 13, then that would be, that'd be different. But he's just someone when you look at potential, he has it. But I feel like if he would have been a potential thing, then he would have already been here because he's been in the league for 4 years? He's going on his 5th year, I think. So I wanted to put him higher, but the guys above him, they earned their positions, and so I guess that's how I ended up with Marshawn at number 10.
It'll be on my list next week.
Okay,
that's all I can say about that one.
Yeah, don't give it away now. It's getting too hot.
So my number 10 is Eric McCoy. I think that he's one of the young building blocks of this team. And
okay.
I think that he's gonna, again, another guy that's gonna keep getting better and better. I thought he was maybe a touch better as a rookie than he was last year, but I think that's probably gonna get fixed. Not that there needs to be like a huge amount of fixing. I just think coming into the season, unsure positions. I think playing the guy next to him being a little bit inexperienced probably affected him a little bit. Quarterback change mid-season probably affected him a little bit. So I don't think the circumstances for him were really easy last year. And I think he availed through it and played really, really well. And Zach Streif said it recently that he's probably on his way to becoming one of the better safeties or centers in the league.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think he's going to get there. So yeah, I got him at 10. As I mentioned at the beginning, my voice is rough, and I'm going to save my reps and not say more words than I need to say to get through the rest of this list, so my voice doesn't give out. But Eric McCoy at 10.
Okay, yeah, you guys, I got to talk a little bit more because my guy, remember Mike, had the little injury, came back, the little flu game, or the Paul Pierce where he got carried off the court and he came running back. I was like, come on, Paul, bro. The theatrics are like out of control. Bro, he had two dudes holding his thighs.
His career was over. You know what I mean? Like, and then he's like,
Bro, he tore every ACL in the arena. He just came back 10 minutes later balling.
Oh, man.
Come on, Paul Pierce. Come on, man. Oh God.
Man.
That's horrible. That's horrible. Hey man, shout out to these NewOrleans.Football branded mics, by the way. I gotta call that out. If you want your product sponsored on here, it ain't free.
It ain't free.
We're gonna put a sticker over your logo. We got a lot of stickers.
We got a lot of stickers.
You see my stickers. I got like 50 of them. I'm just waiting. I should just do a wall.
I got a box of them, man.
I should just do like a wall behind me of just like NewOrleans.Football stickers. Like we got enough.
We do.
Yeah. And make it like portable and stuff, like a green screen. Anyway, moving on. So this guy, and it sucks because I can't say who's after him, but these next two players were the hardest for me to place on this list. You're going to get one of this. You guys are going to get one this pod, and you're going to get one the next. And I just changed it. I just changed this like a couple of minutes ago. Right. So I don't really know. Like if I did this list, if someone erased this list for me, I think I would probably it would look a little different, like between these two guys. Maybe even from like 8 to 11 or something. So I went with David Onyemata at 9. I really wanted to put him higher on this list. I tried. I really tried to get him higher on this list. But that's where he is. That's where he is. I don't really know what to say. We know who he is as a player. I think he's still getting better. I think he's one of the most important players on this team this year. He's the only inside player who, you can probably depend on at this point. Oh man, I feel like I need to just change it again. But I went with him at 9. I think he could end up being like top 5 if certain things work out for him this year. I think he could be that good this year, and he's continuing to get better. So yeah, this is where the list became like really tough for me. Like the top of the list was a little bit easier for me than this little cloud of players. But yeah, David Onyemata, number 9, last pick of the night for me.
I got him much higher. Tune in next week.
Oh, all right. Turn up. I take. Yeah. By the way, I forgot to say, I straight up disagree with your Eric McCoy placement. So I just.
Well, your list is going to say that. I mean,
yeah. I forgot to. Everybody, people tell me I agree with you too much. So there you go, guys. Nick Kevin disagreement.
My number 9 is Cam Jordan.
Okay. Talk about it.
Look, I just think some of the other players on the team, they're hitting their prime. Cam's still, I think, in his prime, but probably towards the back of it. Yeah. I mean, look, he can extend it for a little bit. I mean, there's defensive ends that stay good into their 30s. We'll see. What do you have last year? 7.5. So we'll see where he comes back at this year.
For Davenport.
But yeah. So I think it's just fair placement for him, just kind of based on what we saw last season. Again, I think he's going to be a little bit better than that. But look, I just think the guy is a little bit higher on this list. I mean, we got guys like Alvin, Mike. I haven't revealed Onyemata. Teron Armstead hasn't been revealed.
Ramchick.
Yeah, I mean the guys up like the top of this list is stacked. It's like we said coming in last week when we started this. The bottom half was a little bit different because before it was like you're cutting people off, and this year it was kind of like you're padding a couple guys up into it.
Right.
But the top of this thing is still outrageous. That's the the hope of the team. And if they stay healthy, these guys all stay healthy. They got a really good shot at doing things this year. But I think this is just where he's at this point. And maybe I'll regret it. Maybe he should be in the top 5. But I just think based on last year and kind of where it's at, I think this is, it's tough. I'm looking at it and trying to see what I would do if there's anything I could do different. But it's just where he fell on my list.
Yeah. He's a tough guy to place. I think he would put himself higher, obviously. And he said, he believes that he's got a lot of years left in this league, right? And he was just talking about it. He spoke about guys like Calais Campbell, who, in his 30s, mid 30s, I think it was, he had one of the best years in his career. A player that I always talk about, and as someone who roots for the Saints, I shouldn't really like this guy, but he was one of my favorite NFL players ever, and it was Justin Smith from the 49ers. He was like one of the best players in the NFL to me. He's just ridiculous. I remember him picking Bushrod up, and I was just like, what are they gonna do with this guy? So, guys in Cam, he plays with quickness, but he plays with power also. And guys that play with power, they tend to retain their power as their career goes on. I think the speed and the quickness and the change of direction, things like that, the twitchiness, you start to see maybe that drop off a little bit later in the career. But I think the power stays there. So, I think he got something left. So let me ask you a question about this pick. You put Cam Jordan at number 9. Do you think that's representative of maybe him last season? That's what he is at this point. Or you think he bounces back, but the guys above him are just better players?
It could be both. He could bounce back and be higher on this list and knock some people down. I think the strength of the list also puts him kind of where he's at. So it's if I'm saying that anybody on my top 8, I don't think it would be insulting to say this player is a little, ranks us a little bit higher. And it's not like you're putting, Carl Granderson above Cam Jordan. You're putting Tron Armstead above Cam Jordan or Ramczyk. I think that's fine. It's just, look, and he had the injury last year. I mean, there's different things that could have contributed to what we saw last season. And it's just, just see the response. And if he comes back, he has 11 sacks or whatever, I'd gladly move him up this list and say, hey, I should add him a little bit higher.
Absolutely.
It's just, I don't think it's a knock on him though. And I think it's just fair placement. And that's just kind of how my board fell. It's for the 2021 season. If we were looking at other seasons put into this, I think maybe if you start looking at the impact of the career, obviously he's much higher on the list. Yeah.
1 and 2.
But I tried to do this thing looking at last year and moving forward. And, right now, that's where it's at. And it's
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, the top of this list is tough, man. They're not the end all be all, but, PFF did their top 50 players in the NFL, and the Saints had more players on this list than any other team. And I think that's just representative of how tough, how tough it is to do this list. Because, I mean, Cam Jordan is, he's still a player who, a lot of teams would love to have a player like that, right? They would love to have a player like that. And I think part of what will contribute.
Hold on, there's some comments in the chat right now, about if I'm not implying that Cam's tank is on E by putting him at 9. I'm saying he's not the best player on a super stacked team at this moment, and that might change. 7.5 sacks is not being on E. It's just this is not meant to imply anything. It's just there are some young players on this team that are ascending, and I think that we'll see that ascension moving forward, and that's it. I mean,
that's a good thing though. You got 9 young players that you got above Cam Jordan. I think that's you should feel good about your roster. If that's the case, that's something to be celebrated, right?
I mean, I think they got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, going down to 15. I think anybody in my top 15 could realistically make a Pro Bowl or All Pro team.
Yeah.
Including Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
think that's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this about Cam too. I think that if you get some play from Davenport, if Davenport plays better, I think Davenport will be better this year. I just don't know how much better he'll be this year. Will he take a minor step or will he take a major step? I think he'll play better, even if he just stays healthy, right? And Onyemata, if those two guys, play well this year, I think that's going to help Cam a lot, right? I think that's going to help him a lot, and without, him, the weird offseason last year, he had offseason surgery. He was rehabbing instead of training in the offseason. All that stuff matters because the offseason is, you said it last week. I think it was last week or the week before, or maybe it was the MOP pod. But offseason is that's where you hone your knife, right? That's where you hone your craft. You sharpen your knife. You get better at the little things. You learn, you upgrade your skill set, basically, right? Your pass rush moves, your pass blocking moves, all that stuff. And so when you're not able to do that, it does affect your game. And I think him, they was saying, I think someone asked him in one of the interviews, like, what's different about you this offseason? He's like, well, first thing he said was, well, I don't have to have surgery. Right. And so I just think it's reason to believe that he'll have a bounce back year. And, where you have him, it just goes to show the talent on the roster. I guess that's how I look at it.
Sign up for the site. We got extra podcasts on there. Kevin just mentioned it, the MLP Pod members only podcast. The last one we talked about kind of where the pressure points are on the team as far as injuries. And if somebody got hurt, like where can they not afford to overcome it?
Fun pod.
So that kind of plays into this a little bit. And then we also had a conversation about just why is it that some people think that Jameis can improve his decision making, but Taysom cannot speed up his, and some of the stuff that goes into that thought process. So we had that conversation on there, and then sign up for all the articles and the guides and all that stuff. NewOrleans.Football. Links on the screen. If you're listening, NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Link will be in the show notes. So sign up, support us, get locked in before camp. Sign up now and show you're a real one. If you're waiting for the action.
Where the G's at?
You're waiting for the action. That's cool. But you sign up now in June. You're a diehard fan. So
we know you.
Get on board.
There you go, man. Hurting voice, and you took my spot. Took my job.
Hey, gotta get those reps in, man.
We're keeping
setting the tone, playing hurt,
cruise control until the end. I got to get my own plug.
Hey, man, I'll say this: 2 things. One, being able to catch a common cold right now, because I went 18 months without getting sick. I'm not that mad. It's kind of like we're back going out. There's normal common colds in the air. Number 2, I took your throat hurts, you're coughing. I was gonna go get a COVID test. They got our home COVID test now.
Come on,
so
man.
I mean that's amazing compared to where we were. I was just thinking back 15 months ago, people getting tests because actors were getting dragged for getting a COVID test, and it's because they were so unavailable.
Yeah,
and now you can hop on Instacart and get one delivered to your door. It's crazy.
Hey, listen, get vaccinated first,
right?
But you got to go somewhere and you're not, or even if you are, you got some weird people coming through. Tell them to stop by CVS on the way. CVS on every block. Get that little test, a little swab. Was it 15 minutes?
15 minutes, $20. They give you 2 tests.
Oh, 2?
No, yeah, you get 2 tests. So you take one and then you take one 3 days later, just to be safe. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, wow.
You just pop open this thing, put some drops in it, swab your nose, slip the swab in. 15 minutes later, it's like a pregnancy test. You either get 2 lines. You get 2 lines. You're depending on how you're looking at it, you're celebrating or dismayed. And this one, there's only one result. If you get 2 lines, you're dismayed. So yeah, that's it. You get two lines, you're in trouble on this one. So I mean, that's it. It was crazy that's available, man. I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know they were out there.
You text me. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was just, I don't know why I was gonna go to Walgreens. I'm like, let me see if they got home ones, and they did, and I was like, all right, cool.
Well, I don't even need one because I don't leave the house, but I might just go one and just tell my wife, here you go. Don't ask for no hug until you get these results, girl. It won't work. But all right. Hey, guys, listen, sign up for NewOrleans.Football, as Nick said. Support the site. Tell somebody. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the video. Listen to this on YouTube, too. And even if you don't want to listen to it live, just hit play and go to sleep and wake up and we get a view. I don't care. I'll take it how it comes. So just help us out anywhere you come. We appreciate the support. This doesn't exist without you guys. Nick mentioned the members only pod. Those pods are fun. I'm just gonna say it like that. I had some takes about can Taysom improve one part of his game versus can Jameis do this other thing. That was like a really fun conversation that we had. So, and I always say this is the off season. All the content is still relevant. It's like nothing has changed. So if Nick wrote an article, 2 months ago, it's still relevant today because no games have been played, right? There's not like a film study and you don't care about what happened 2 weeks ago. So anyway, check out everything on NewOrleans.Football. Subscribe, do everything you can to help us, guys. We appreciate that. With that said, thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys next week. We out.